mix up some glue and show you a quick way of doing some pretty nice, neat little glass fibre repairs. So I brought along this lavishly designed, Lloyd's approved window box, which I punched a hole in. So that's perhaps what you might see as some kind of damage. And then what I thought I'd do is I'll just show you a couple of ways of kind of repairing that, really quick and simple, that give you, a really accessible ways of repairing this, that if you haven't got professional tools, you might thank me for. So what I'm going to do is use this lovely little product here that we supply through your local reputable chandler, called G5. It's 5-minute epoxy, just like Araldite, or very similar to Araldite. In fact, it smells very similar to Araldite. And you mix this 1-to-1 ratio by just dispensing it out. This is a little bit cold because it's been in my car, and it's a little bit thick. So mix a nice lump of this out. And this should cure in around about, well, in this temperature, probably longer than 5 minutes, so it might not do what it says on the container. Mix this together really, really well.
Don't need to wear gloves in, mate.
Well, you should wear gloves, but as I'm a professional, then...
Concentrate, you've got 420 left.
Actually, health and safety was going to be about an hour of this. So, yeah, you should actually, that is really important when you're working with this stuff, is you wear gloves, because it will stick virtually anything to anything. So I always suggest people wash. It's not the kind of thing you would see in walls.
And from here, I couldn't see if it was plastic or glass fibre.
It is glass fibre. So what we could do here, if we haven't got access to this, we could get a screw and cut, put a screw in a piece of polystyrene, cut this so it's a shape so we can poke it through the hole. Unfortunately, I haven't got time to do that. It's such a hurry these days. And pull it back out on itself and secure it there with some of this 5-minute, and then we can do our repair on top of that. And if we really wanted to get rid of this bit of polystyrene, we might be able to melt it out with some acetone, so it's gone completely. So if I just secure that with a bit of this 5-minute stuff, hopefully that will do the trick. I'll just push that. Push that in place like that, jam it in, and then we'll leave that for a minute, or 10 actually. 10 to be some more specific. And I'll show you something else. If we had another bit of damage that was nice and followed a nice straight line like this, maybe like a deck edge, it's a great opportunity if you've got limited access to this, to actually look somewhere else on the boat and see where you can get a little splash off another section that copies that. So again, we can use our 5-minute epoxy to just coat that onto here. By the way, none of this is in any kind of a book. It's straight out of the top of my head, this. So it's copyrighted DJ. Just get that nice and wet with some epoxy. Get some glass tape. Lay that on top. Maybe put some gloves on. The reason I haven't put gloves on is I've only got 2 pairs with me. But these again are available at your boutiques. These are vinyl gloves. Some people have a bit of an allergy to latex gloves. I've got a bit of an allergy to latex. So I went to a lot of latex parties, I think, when I was young. So all we do now is just make sure that gets really, really thoroughly wetted out. Really force the epoxy through that. Right, and now we use our magic stuff, which a lot of you know about. peel
Peel
ply
ply.
to put that on top, and that will give us a nice finish on that doesn't require any sanding. Yeah. So you can see that's kind of going quite nice and transparent. We're only going to use this as a former that we can pop through our hole and hold in place with a screw. We call that a letterbox repair because you're kind of posting this former through, gluing it back on itself, and then allowing you then something stable on which to laminate your repair. Yeah? So we'll leave that for about. So I've just done that on some PVC tape, and we should, with the help of one of these West System mixing sticks, like this is going on YouTube, we should be able to release this away. We'll just take the peel ply off first, like that. So we've now got, a section really quick. This is probably something that you do between races if you were really desperate. So you can now use this to make your pattern to laminate against. You can see with a pair of scissors, it actually cuts just like cardboard. I know that somebody will say, well, why aren't you this quick when you're doing my boat?
Never occurred to me.
I was just waiting, so there you go.
Yeah.
Pop that in place, 5 minute that, and what we'll do is we'll make up some 5 minute again, just to do that. Really nice to use this. You can put this in boiling water, and it becomes almost like syrup to work with.
You mean put the tubs in boiling water, don't you?
Yeah, put the tubs, not the glue.
Yeah,
Sorry, I should have made that clear, shouldn't I?
Bloody school teachers.
I know what happens with instructions.
What happens with lack of instructions?
Yeah.
So, just mix that together. Just get some on the edge of that. And you'll have to pretend that I've put a screw through this and then tied it off with a piece of string to something that isn't going to drive off.
You've done all of
Sounds
this,
like
so
from
you know.
experience.
So we'll just pop that in place there. And just maybe use a bit of sticky tape just to secure that. If I can find where I put it, where I put the sticky tape. Right, I'll just snip some of this off. And a bit of sandpaper, just to get this roughly to the kind of shape that we want. Right, like that. And then we're ready to do a really nice, neat little repair. And what I want to show you here is a repair that you almost certainly would feel comfortable with, because it's basically mixing 2 bits of glue up and some filler into a nice stodgy porridge that you shove in the damage. Yeah? Yeah, you all like that, don't you? Yeah. So, put some gloves on. And we're going to do is use just the standard West System resin and hardener, 105 resin, 205 hardener, which is the fastest curing of the two. What I would say, if you've never used this before, mix it up in small quantities, because if you mix it up in huge quantities, it'll melt through the bottom of a pot.
Yeah.
I've done that. Thrown that out.
Pattern on the top of your grand piano if you leave it on that as well. So just mix it up in small quantities. Probably 3 pumps of resin, 3 pumps of hardener in one of these mixing pots. You know.
If you go to Marks and Spencer's and get their quick bites tubs, they're much more fun than your.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. Do they last a lot?
No, but you eat the contents first.
Oh right. Okay.
So how many pumps of squirt?
3 pumps of resin, 3 pumps of hardener, and it does depend on the size of the pot. You know, if you've got those little yoghurt pots, probably if you put 3 pumps of resin and 3 pumps of hardener in, and you hold it in your hand, that's the other thing. You know, you'll be chatting away to somebody, and suddenly it'll be smoking. So in this pot, you get about 10 to 15 minutes of working time out of 3 pumps of resin and 3 pumps of hardener. We supply like little packs and then a bigger pack. This is the A pack, and you can see it's got a really neat little pump set that you can buy to go with it. Buy one of these because it'll save you such a massive amount of headache. We get people ringing us up, and it's always on a Monday morning. I can guarantee you, I've used your stuff, mate, and it didn't work. You know, and you say, well, did you use the pumps? No. Well, how did you measure it? Well, I used teaspoons. Or I guessed it. You know, it's supposed to be a 5-to-1 mix, so you can't guess 5-to-1. But then we've also had people who phone up and they say, yeah, I used the pumps, and we say, well, how many pumps of resin did you use? Oh, 5. And how many pumps of hardener did you use? 1. You know, you can quite clearly see that they're actually calibrated. Yeah. So 1 pump of resin, 1 pump of hardener gives you the right ratio. So I'll just use 2 pumps of resin, 2 pumps of hardener. And one thing's for sure, if you mix this sufficiently, it will cure. If you don't, it won't. So always count to 30. That's a good bit of kind of quality control. But as I'm a professional, I don't need to count to 30. So. What you need then is these little things, these little glue brushes, and what we can do is just prime this before we do anything else. Just a nice little bit of epoxy, just to prime the edges of this. Nobody bored yet?
No.
Good.
When you cut the polystyrene a minute ago, it looked as if it had gone slightly sticky. Does expanded polystyrene deteriorate quite badly?
It's rubbish. It's rubbish to use for this. The best thing to use is styrofoam if you can get blue or pink builder's foam, because that you can sand that like cheese and form it into things. You know, model aircraft builders use it a lot for making a fuselage of an aircraft. And then they skin it in glass and pour acetone into it, and the foam etches out, and they call it lost foam, like lost wax casting, you know. So you can, it was just a piece of foam that I had kicking around my kitchen. So once you've done that, you then need a really neat filler that actually I invented. And they'll probably buy me a plastic gold carriage clock when I retire for this. They'll remember me, I doubt. But it's this is short chopped fibres of glass with silica, which is a thickening additive. So when you mix the two together, you then get a really nice thickened mix that you can stipple.
Not good to breathe in.
Not very good to breathe in at all. It will certainly make you hop around if you breathe a lot of it in. It will reinforce you, that's for sure. So you want to mix this in till it's kind of like a gloopy consistency that will stand up on your mixing stick. You know, that will just run off the work. So you want it a bit thicker than that. So we put these nice little measuring scoops in to give you a good idea as to how many scoops. And it's actually, I think it's one scoop of this to 1 pump of resin will give you a nice consistency. And it looks a little bit unwieldy at first when you get it right.
Breathe that in, David.
So you've got this gooey kind of thing that looks a little bit like hair out of a bath plug kind of thing. But just add a little bit more.
I won't mess with that.
Does that work as well, David?
What, hair out of a bath plug? It's funny, we've had people mix all sorts of stuff with this. We had a guy a few years ago was out in the Caribbean and he couldn't get any filler, but he had some Weetabix. So we suggested that he mix it with Weetabix to fill this hole in his boat to stop it sinking, you know. And he phoned back, he said, it worked great, yeah. It tasted horrible, but it worked all right. So really, we just want to...
coconut fibre.
Barry, seen you do repairs, look.
Done, finished.
That's
Ready.
it. There they are. Get a nice peek at it and then cheer when you're finished. Right, so that is all your material in place. And if you use your brush, you find that you can actually stipple this in place and actually get quite a nice shape and get it to form nicely. And this is actually short glass fibre, so you're actually doing a glass fibre repair, but with something that is probably more, you know, you might be a bit more comfortable to work with. It's just basically a filler, but it's a reinforced filler. And we've actually done pull tests on this on our tensiometer at the office. It's nearly broken the machine. So you get it to kind of like a rough shape, like that. And you could leave it to go tacky and then add some filler over it to get it to the right kind of shape. But what I like to do is use that fantastic stuff called Leo ply, wherever it's gone. Ah, there it is. Just get some short pieces of peel ply. Just get that over it. And use your gloves just to kind of tease everything into shape. Like that. Maybe a bit more. Quiet. You're either asleep or fascinated.
We're waiting for you to make a mistake.
And then just more or less form that into that radius. I mean, you won't ever get it perfect, but it's far better to do things at this stage than leave it to cure. Because one thing we don't formulate this for is to be easy to sand. So use your radius on your mixing stick to get that neat little radius in there. Yeah, and that's it. Kind of job done, really. but it will need a bit of filling and a little bit of paint, but the structural element of that is done. Yeah? So, that is a little bit... I could finish that off as well, couldn't I? So that's probably gone off. Cure now. So what I could do there is get a clean mixing stick. Another pair of gloves. I can just do this repair here and use the same method to do that. This really avoids kind of shoving a piece of cardboard in there or a piece of rolled up newspaper, which is really, really bad stuff. Bad stuff.
Page 2, on the rest of the back of it.
Barry's volunteered his boat for making use of your power tools demonstration in a bit.
Thanks, mate. First lesson Saturday morning.
Happy with that hole?
That's that, and then just a little bit of peel ply, just to feather that in.
David, that was still quite workable.
Oh, yeah.
After you mix the powder with the two components,
Yes.
how long can you work with it?
With that amount, once you've got it on the work, probably something like 3/4 of an hour. Yeah, but it's one of the things about a lot of things that are two-component is that they, as they're curing, all the molecules are rushing around and create a lot of friction, which results in heat. And the more concentrated a mass you have of that, the more heat is generated, so the quicker it goes off. And then the more heat is generated, and that speeds up the cure even more. So the trick really is to work in small quantities and work with a nice wide mixing pot, or something that is wide enough to spread the material out, but small enough to mix it easily. A yoghurt pot is probably not exactly ideal, but they're cheap.
We use an old baking tin.
Did you? Yeah. That's me.
David, the ambient temperature, does that have a lot of bearing on whether it lasts 3/4 of an hour?
Not so much in the pot, but definitely on the work. You know, outside, you could do this outside with peel ply tonight, and this would probably be cured by about midday tomorrow. And the peel ply will protect it from the cold and the damp as well. You know, it does amaze me. We write all sorts of blurb about where and when you should be using this. You know, it's almost, you think that you should be in a laboratory to work with it. But I've done stuff. It's been a great opportunity to do work out in the dinghy park, and it seems to me that I pull up and I get out the car and I'm just about to pump out the epoxy, and this cloud that has been like one cloud in the sky comes over to me and it rains, you know. But I've done work and it's rained on it, and surprisingly the next day I've never left it on there, I've sanded it off, but it's cured enough to sand, you know, so that's a measure that it has actually cured. The peel ply really does, you know, protect a repair though from, because if you get any moisture attack or blush on the surface, it just blushes on the top of the peel ply, and underneath it you rip the peel ply and you've got lovely green laminate underneath. So
the action of, you were showing on some of the others, you put the vacuum pump on.
Oh, yeah.
So putting the vacuum pump on does in fact accelerate the curing?
No.
Doesn't?
No.
Not by compressing it and sucking the air?
It just consolidates. It's just almost like using a massive G crank, but you're using air pressure. You know, air pressure will give you a kilo a square centimetre. It's actually 10 tonnes every square metre of air pressure. It's used a lot in boat building. It's used a lot. Almost every powerboat builder I've in the country, I've got them up and trained with a method for bagging the